Yeah, because it's the railway, isn't it?
Well, no, it's the brook.
That's the river.
Yeah.
To these need.
That's very true. So
and the canal is a natural boundary because there are only a couple of crossing points.
Yeah.
One of which is Christchurch Yard Wood.
Yeah.
In fact, and the other road.
So historically,
Oh, we've got a question. So, do you want to talk about boundaries then, about what we've got coming in? Because
I send you the question first.
you can do. It doesn't want to sound good.
people talk about
A lot of people around the Maypole call themselves Kingston.
Right, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Billesley Ward Committee with the police tasking meeting combined at Holy Cross Community Centre. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Housekeeping, if the fire alarm goes off,
It's real.
It's real, as I've just been told. The exits are to the back of the room, out the front and behind us. Don't hang around, just leave the room straight away if they go off. Code of conduct for the ward committee meeting is with the paperwork on your seats. Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest?
No, Chair.
No, none from me. Minutes last meeting, everything happy with that? Yes?
Yes.
All right, thank you. West Midlands Fire Service, we haven't got a representative from West Midlands Fire Service here tonight, but I do see regularly on Twitter and Facebook that Billesley Fire Station are involved heavily in the community, doing good work, travelling about and rescuing, unfortunately, from some serious road traffic accidents lately. On the good side, they've also been working in the ward doing some street art. And where was that?
Not Slade Lane. Scribers Lane.
Scribers Lane, where Yardley Wood School
Yes.
designed a safety around water theme, and it was painted on the bridge by West Midlands Fire Brigade, Birmingham City Council, West Midlands Police were all involved with the school. And we did get a visit from West Midlands Police to check that we weren't graffitiing while we were doing it. And luckily, the officer that came along did recognise us and knew what we were up to. That's all about community policing, knowing your councillors, knowing your local fire brigade and knowing your local schools. Matters of urgent local concern. Is there anything on that anyone's got? I've had a message in on Hangouts. Thank you for sending your message in from the Yardley Wood area. Why are black bin bags put out by households deemed not suitable to have wheelie bins not been collected with wheelie bin collections? They were until Christmas. We have had 3 missed collections of bags in the last 3 weeks. Tomorrow we'll make it 4. The laughable thing is that the bin men take the black bags out of the wheelie bins and walk past the stacked black bags to deposit the collected ones. Be interesting to know the logic behind this, as it must cost more to send out another bin lorry after complaints of non-collection and spillage due to birds, cats, slitting bags. Thank you. Thank you for your question. It's a topical question for this time of year. We do have problems. I accept your question and I agree it is silly when they are taking bags out of bins and walking past other bags. But unfortunately, if there is a mix-up and they deem it as fly tipping, the bags have to be examined to see if they are fly tipped. But as you're saying, they are regular collections that should happen. I think we'll look into this with waste management and see why they are not picking up the black bags at the same time. Plus the wheel bins, they shouldn't be picking black bags out of the wheel bin and throwing them in the lorry. The bin should be connected to the back of the lorry. That's the idea of changing over to all that to keep everything clean. But any comments from the other councillors on that?
Well, I'd like to comment. I don't think, frankly, the city's got the collection arrangements right yet. As we know, the wheelie bins were being wheeled out, no pun intended. And there will be some teething troubles, but the problem is, why aren't they collecting stuff at the same time? So I think the person who's written in has got a really good point. And certainly that's a question I've been asking of the Fleet and Waste and the cabinet member, of course, who's responsible ultimately for the system. So, you know, I'm very sympathetic to what's been said there, but I think we do need to keep on to them to say, join it up. It's not joined up enough yet.
I'm inclined to agree with Councillor Davis. I'm surprised that after 3 years of rolling out wheel bins all across the city, they're still having teething troubles, but I accept that you can't possibly know what difficulties you're likely to encounter until you actually go into a ward. As you know, Chair, I was complaining about the way the wheeled bin service was rolled out in Billesley from day one, because a small part of our ward was part of the pilot with Bramwood Ward. And I would have liked to have seen Billesley finished off in the early days, but I accept the reasons the cabinet member has given me for that, but I would like them to get it right now in Billesley, and I think it's terribly important. And like yourself and Councillor Davis, I'm getting messages similar to that one almost on a daily basis, and I pass them on to the cabinet member, and she does, in fairness, she does get it sorted out. but it's very soul destroying when a couple of weeks later it happens again. And it's that part of the service that we are not delivering on properly. You know, things sometimes go wrong, we wish they didn't, but they do. But when they go wrong again and again and again, that's when it becomes very irritating. And it really needs to be sorted out.
Totally agree. And unfortunately, the wheel bin project has been rolling out over quite a period, but the difficulty is, and people may accept it or may not, but every ward is different and it springs up different problems. And until you've actually had it rolled out in your ward, you can't determine the problems from another ward. You can determine some of them, but some of them are unique to the ward. So this is why people are saying, why haven't you got it right now? It should have been got right in the early stages in the rollout. I agree with that, but every ward is different, and our problems, not all of them, are unique to the ward at the moment. So I agree totally with that, and I will ask if Councillor Davis would mind sending an email off to Fleet and Waste tonight to preempt the possible left collection tomorrow as the questions come in tonight. We will highlight it with Fleet and Waste, but they obviously won't pick it up until tomorrow, the email. If it does get left, again, please contact us. We will get it cleared and we will get the service right in the long term.
Have we got an address for that one so that we can make sure they go to the right area?
We have a road.
I'm not expecting you to announce it.
No, we have a road.
Excellent,
that it's in. Okay. So we will identify the road to Fleet and Waste and identify the problem and ask them to pick up any waste bags that are left behind, which we did last week on the police walkabout.
Yes.
There were some bags identified which were looked at as fly tipping, but they weren't. They belonged to flats above shops which didn't have wheelie bins, and for some reason the wagon had left them behind. We dealt with that, we got it cleared up. Hopefully it's not going to reoccur, but these problems are something we will stamp out because we want the service right for the citizens.
If I could say, Chair, I think we shouldn't miss the point that the wheelie bins are a great step forward, I think. I know people have to get used to them, but seeing all the black bags out, when it was just black bags, I mean, lots of things could go wrong with that. You know, as you were saying, you know, as the person writing in said, you know, the bags burst, yes, cats or dogs went after them, and there were huge piles of them. Because if there was a problem and they happened to be left for a while, it got worse and worse. I think now it's much better, we're much cleaner, we've got an enclosed waste system where it goes in the bin and the bin is there. And once the system is working fully properly, I think people see the benefits.
I think it will improve, and perhaps I'm being optimistic, but since the wheel bins have come into the ward, I think after bin day there is less litter on the streets,
I think that's true,
as there was before. Like I say, perhaps I'm being optimistic, but rose-coloured glasses. Let's move forward and improve the service, but we can do that with the help of the public, letting us know where it's failing. Thank you for that. If anyone's got any more questions, please post them on Google+, Billesley Ward. Send your question in and it will get through to us, or you can contact us on Twitter. We're all on Twitter. I am at Councillor Buchanan. We've got at Councillor Susan B. Yep. And we've got at Councillor
Phil Davis.
Phil Davis.
Phil Davis,
yeah. All on Twitter. We're all up and running with technological now.
Chair, I understand a number of trees have been planted in Daisy Farm Park. Now, I wasn't able to be there when it took place, but I wondered if you or Councillor Davis might like to tell people who don't know about it what it's all about, because it's quite good news, I think.
It is a Birmingham City Trees for Life, and we are planting trees in green spaces all around the city to improve the environment. It all helps. Councillor Davis was there helping the children to dig the slots to drop the tree saplings in, and he planted a few trees himself, if he'd like to inform you.
Well, yes, it was very enjoyable because it wasn't raining for once.
The ground was wet.
The ground was wet, which is quite good actually if you're planting trees. And we have to come clean, Alex, don't we, and say that the people from Trees for Life, the park rangers, had been in earlier and they dug up the ground partly. But actually, we still had to do some proper digging, and we provided the proper spades for it. You know, the ones that are shaped the right way at the end. And the children were wonderful from Hollywood Prime. Their sort of eco team, they call them, I think, don't they? And there were about 30 or more of them there. And it was great. So, you know, they got on with it, and they planted a range of trees, and we planted some as well. And I think at the end of the session, an hour or so, an hour and a half perhaps, I think about 800 trees have been planted. So I really think it's a tremendous amount of trees to plant. And of course, that'll, you know, there's plenty of space in the park, you know, it didn't take up any space at all, really. But it's a great thing, and we all need trees, don't we? We all know that, you know, trees are life, and the Trees for Life project is a great scheme across the city. And of course, the great thing about our ward is that we're blessed with all our open spaces, you know, Billesley Common, Chickenford Park, you know, all those spaces are really valued by local people. And so part of our job as councillors is we keep an eye on that clearly, and, you know, if we can help the process along with the tree planting, then it's great to take part, really. So it was enjoyable, actually. It was very good. And the more trees we do plant in certain areas, the more it will help with drainage, stop flooding in the area, good for the environment. And the good part was the children come out, did it themselves, they enjoyed it, they got their hands dirty, and they will respect them trees in the future because they will be able to say, we planted some of these. And the good bit for the children, they went on the play area on the way home. I saw them. I don't know whether that was part of the deal, but they were on the play area having a good time before they went back to school. But they did work hard, school, so don't criticise them for that.
Well, Councillor Davis mentioned Billesley Common, and of course he's right, we are blessed with a lot of green open space. And about this time last year, Trees for Life came onto Billesley Common, and students from Swanshurst School and pupils from Billesley School came down, and I was able to be there that day. And as you described, you know, digging little V-shaped trenches to put saplings in. And of course, Billesley Common's a place that I use quite frequently because I walk my dog there. And it's lovely to see them growing. So they're sort of 12 months in front of the ones that you planted last week. But that's lovely news and great for the ward.
And on Billesley Common, I haven't got the date, but I know on Billesley Common, to celebrate the Queen's birthday coming up, there is going to be a litter pick.
Excellent.
5th of March.
5th of March.
That's right.
From Moseley Rugby Club. They will be going around the common with anyone that volunteers to come along to clean up the area for the Queen's birthday, and we need to do that for the whole city. So everyone needs to not drop litter number one and pick up your litter, or pick up any litter you see and put it in one of the bins. And I thank everyone for doing that, and it's a good project happening on Billesley Common, and I thank Moseley Rugby Club for involving the community and helping the Valley River Project. They are involved in cleaning up the area because they look after the area quite often. And thank you for reminding me of the date, Sergeant Ogden. Moving on, matters of local concern. Is there anything else?
I just wanted to follow up. You mentioned the Valley River Project, Alex, and I think that's really a positive reference to, you know, one of the groups. I mean, we've got lots of groups, Friends of Billesley Common as well. You know, and we've got lots of voluntary groups in the area that do really good stuff. You know, there's people who work on the allotments as well. I'm involved with Greenley allotments, and it's great, you know, that we've got all those places where people can make a contribution like that. And can I just say that we got a little bit of money, and a few pots of money that the council has in the Trusts and Charities Committee particularly, which people can apply for grants, you know, maybe £500, say, possibly slightly more depending on the project. And if they get in touch with me through the usual email, phil.davis@birmingham.gov.uk, I'll be happy to send them the details because we're very keen to encourage this small grant process. And I know value of the project already applied, and that will be processed shortly. So we can help in a small way those sort of projects, and I think it's very important that we do as councillors.
It is very important, and it's important people know the city hasn't got money, unfortunately, that it used to have, but we are still trying to bring resources into the ward and money where we can. And I thank you for that, Phil, for telling people that.
We have the Police Property Act too. So again, people and small groups can apply for up to £2,000 every 2 years. So it's basically it's a property which we recover from instance we attend, or whether property which is handed into us, and we sell off at auction, and that money then goes to small groups across the area. And we've given out some cheques this month for close to £1,000 to 2 community groups who will benefit from that.
Excellent, excellent. And how do people access that if they talk to any officers they see around?
They're more than welcome to get in touch with myself direct at Billesley Station, or they can email us on our email account, which is bs_so_constituency. It's a long one, at west-midlands.pn.police.uk.
We'll have to write that out. The easiest thing is go on West Midlands.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's good to know as well. Good. Any funding we can pick up is good to know. Any other matters at the moment? We've got, people may know, we're in the middle of consultation on Birmingham's budget, which is very close to being signed off at the moment, and the boundaries for Birmingham. There's been a lot of back and forth between everyone in the city on their opinion of local boundaries, with the Boundary Commission, who are an independent body. They're not linked to any political affiliation. They look at it purely on number of people, community, natural boundaries to build up the wards. Unfortunately, I will criticise them on one thing. They have upset a few wards in the city by moving historic parts of it into another area just to get the numbers right for the electorate. So that has been addressed, or we are trying to address it. But I have to say, in my opinion, and I hope in the other councillors' opinion, the boundaries that we've put forward and that the Boundary Commission have agreed so far, it is going back to them for further consultation, but they've tended to agree with what they've seen so far from what the councillors put forward for the Billesley area, which could have shrunk. If every other boundary moves, it's got to stop somewhere, and we could have shrunk. I have no doubt about that. So we fought vigorously. Billesley ward currently has 3 councillors, and our fight was to try and maintain as much as possible 3 councillors for what we currently call the Billesley ward. The way in which we could do that was to create a Billesley ward, which is up in Billesley, the top part of the Billesley ward at the moment, which will sit 2 councillors, and we've created a new smaller ward called Hyters Heath, which is on the boundary, but they all sit in the current Billesley ward with a bit of extension. We've moved out slightly because we have to represent more people.
How many councillors will that new smaller ward have?
1.
So in effect, still 3 councillors to cover the area that's currently called Billesley ward.
But they will have 2 separate ward names.
Yes.
And it was an option we didn't want. The first option that we fought for was to keep Billesley as a 3-member ward, to keep it together as much as we could. But I have to say, looking at the maps for Birmingham, some wards have been absolutely decimated. So, without blowing our own trumpets, I think a pat on the back, we've fought hard and well to keep what we can. Any comments?
Well, I do think it has been successful to that extent, because what we wanted to do was keep the more or less the same level of representation.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll be the two new wards, one two-seater in the north and one seater at Hyters Heath, as we were saying, will cover more people than we currently have in the ward. I mean, we've got about 18,000, I think, voters, haven't we, currently?
Yeah.
So it's large. And there's some, and these changes are controversial, not in Billesley area so much, I think, as other areas, as Councillor Buchanan has said. But the problem is we're seeing a reduction in the number of councillors, if these go through, from 120 down to 101. Well, 120 sounds a lot, but actually, when you think about the size of the city, we've actually got bigger groups of voters to look after than anywhere else in the country. And the problem with these changes, cutting the number of councillors, it's increasing the number of voters we're going to have to look after, which, okay, fine, we take on the job, we don't have to do it. But actually, it does make community engagement tougher. And that will be the challenge, I think, for the people who are elected, under these new boundaries.
And I have to say, sorry to pipe in, Phil, but we were criticised initially under the Kerslake review for representing too many people.
Yes.
And we now have to represent more.
I know, it's daft. So I'm afraid there's a bit of London people coming down and saying what's good for Birmingham people, which none of us want. So we're not very happy with that. But we've fought hard to keep the right level of representation for Billesley, and I think on the whole we have managed to do that if these proposals go through. Yeah. So I think it is important that people, if they want to comment on these, say, well, actually we think these proposals are reasonable, while having a bit of a grumble about the fact that the number of councillors is being cut across the city. You can still do that if you want.
What is the cut-off date for people to have their say? Is it the 8th of February?
I think it is.
Yes, I think it may be. Yeah, that does ring a bell.
So if people have, do want to submit something, if they haven't done so already, I know certainly.
The Commission has a website.
Yeah,
that's right.
It does indeed, and there are copies of the maps with the proposed boundaries and the current boundaries in the library. I think we put them there, and certainly here at Holy Cross there are some for people to come and have a look at if they wish to. I agree totally with what both of you have said. We have fought hard. The bit I am really pleased about is that in 2003-04, when the boundaries changed the last time, we lost what people refer to as the Vimy Triangle. So that was Vimy, Jutland, those roads around there, and they went out into Springfield. And Alex, Phil, you weren't Billesley councillors at that time, but I was, and had a number of arguments with the Boundary Commission over it, which I lost, and the Vimy Triangle became part of Springfield. But that is now included in this round of proposals for that part to come back into Billesley, which is where I believe it should always have been. So I'm pleased to see that. And I think these boundaries do follow natural boundaries like the river and the canal, things like that, and very busy roads that people find it hard to cross anyway, and create natural barriers between neighbourhoods. So I think a pretty good job has been done, quite frankly.
Well, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? But I mean, as I say, it could have been a lot worse.
We could have.
What's happened in some of the parts of the city.
There are wards that have gone from 3-member wards to 1, and the ward as it was has been decimated. And
people are worried about losing the name, aren't they?
Their identity.
There's a big meeting up in Moseley, wasn't there, about that?
Yes,
that's one of the areas. And I know this in the centre of the city, people in the Jewellery Court area have been up in arms as well.
Yeah.
So we've still got a Billesley identity and a Hyters Heath identity, which of course the key communities, and of course the new Billesley ward we know covers Yardley Wood, so it covers a number of areas, and Warstock's in the Hyters Heath bit. But those communities, they were too small to have a single ward, but we've managed to keep the general.
And I think they will gel together, and the hopefully they will see themselves as one community still, even though they are fragmented fractions. But we had no choice on that.
No.
The Boundary Commission would not accept 3. They were adamant they didn't want 3-member wards in the city. But that's one of our fights that we've done.
Yeah, and if you want to, like you say, get it in the next 2 or 3 days, because the 8th of February is the cut-off.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else? Have we got anything pressing there?
No, don't think so.
No, we've got no petitions coming in. Items for the next agenda. We tend to react to what's going on in the ward with the agenda, so that will be put in place. The date and time for the next meeting will be agreed and publicised. We will put it out on Twitter, Facebook, the usual stuff we advertise stuff out on. And at that, I'd like to thank everyone for their questions on the ward meeting and for their interaction with us. And thank you for contacting us on the web. It's nice to know there's people out there. And at this point, we will switch to the police tasking meeting for Billesley.
Okay.
With Sergeant Hill.
Right. Okay. Thanks for coming. And I'm just going to.
Do you want to swap seats now?
Yeah. We're in the frame.
I'm not ready. You can sit there.
There we are. Close up on the camera. Okay, I'm going to keep it fairly brief just because it's a very busy operation tonight. So I'm just going to run through the key things just for the Selio constituency, but really just to focus just on Billesley. So for those who don't know me, Sergeant Neil Lockton from Billesley Station, but now sort of the duty sergeant for the Selio constituency, so responsible from Selio through Bourneville, Bramwood and across to Billesley. That have geographical responsibility for Billesley. So if there's anyone either watching or in here tonight who wishes to discuss anything locally, please come and see me at Billesley Station or call me or whatever, and I'll put you through to Billesley Station. So, as a sort of normal format, what I would run through, the priorities, first of all, I'll just run through and then just go through the crime and social behaviour for the area. And the priorities being, Yardley Wood still has concern with antisocial behaviour, and the second one being burglaries on the area of Worcester Road south, either side of the road, so the Billesley side and on the Bramwood side as well. That's been some concern to us over the last couple of weeks. So with Yardley Wood, first of all, just an update of where we're currently at. You know, the last 6 months, and really from last summer, we've had lots of demand, lots of calls with regards to mini motors, causing all sorts of problems. School Road, Ravenshill, parks off, and absolutely no consideration whatsoever to their own safety or anyone else's safety in the area. Those bikes have caused us all sorts of problems. Positively, over the last month, we've issued 3 what we call Section 59 Police and Reform Act warnings on 3 bikes in the Billesley area, just outside Yardley Wood, but those required an antisocial behaviour notice. And also, we carried out a visit to an address following information which we received and by the actions of officers, and have seized one of the main bikes which have been causing problems in Yardley Wood. You may have seen that on Twitter, because that had been put out, and I can see it's been retweeted by a lot of people and favourited by a lot of people too, because clearly people are very happy that that bike's been taken off the streets. And since that has taken place, the number of calls over the last 3-4 weeks have reduced considerably in Yardley Wood, which thankfully means people are enjoying peace and quiet in Yardley Wood far more than they were a couple of months ago. So we're really pleased with that, and I would personally just say thanks to Sergeant Crowley and PC Walker, who were on our operation team at Bourneville, who have done the work to make that happen and seize that bike. So that was some excellent work which took place. What the operational team are also doing is visiting all the individuals who we know of who are causing antisocial behaviour, whether that be on mini motos, hanging on street corners, causing antisocial behaviour, or causing any other similar problems across the area, and we visited those from a police perspective, and also Birmingham City Council, the Housing Department, have also jointly done those visits. And again, that's had a big impact. And that's really the first stage of our sort of intervention work as we progress and consider other interventions, whether that be injunctions at the last sort of stage where we apply to courts to consider those. And that's what we've done in the past, where people have been on the injunctions and people have ended up going to prison because they breached their injunctions. So hopefully by the approach which we've had early on, that's going to have an impact with those individuals. And that's quite a significant number. I think we're up to about 15 have been visited. So hopefully that will also have an impact too. And then my team, and the duty teams patrol across the Celio constituency, and they focus every single day. They patrol the Yardley. They task to patrol at different times during the day. They carry out those patrols. We gather intelligence and information, and that's where then our operational team come in and do the follow-up work jointly with the council as well. So credit to them that they've been stopping all these individuals day in, day out and gathering the information. It's all coming together to hopefully make Yardley Wood a safer place. That's the aim. That work will continue into next month, and I'll update everyone on any further positive work which takes place there. So that's Yardley Wood. Any questions from yourselves, councillors, with regards to Yardley Wood?
Just really well done on that, because I know that catching mini motos and bikes is really quite tricky.
It's a challenge,
yes.
Not just to the local officers, but also to the emergency teams, our response teams who come across to support us, and our traffic department. And we can't pursue bikes, when they haven't got helmets on and they're up over pavements and across fields. It's a real challenge, and that's where then we rely on people coming forward to tell us what's going on, and then the local action. So it's all coming together.
It's just a comment again. I think you need to be congratulated on the work you're putting in the effort. And I'm pleased to be there at the walkabouts that we do, which all helps getting the intelligence towards this. And the mini motos and the motorbikes are, I don't think these people realise the danger they're putting other people in as well as themselves. They're doing wheelies with no helmets on. They are.
And I think residents are disturbed by the noise as well.
They're very loud.
Because where, Yardley Wood certainly, it's been very noticeable. It has tailed off now, and I think that's down to the activities of the police. And we don't necessarily want the police helicopter over all the time, because that has a beneficial effect, but that's noisy. So the action taken by the police, to target the particular people causing the offence is very welcome.
And probably a thanks from me to then the community, who have come forward. Because if it wasn't for people coming forward,
yes.
We couldn't really.
It's all about everybody.
That's everyone looking after their area, taking responsibility for it, and then we'll support with what we need to do from an enforcement point of view.
I totally agree. And there have been people that I suspect don't think they're going to get that support, but on one of our walkabouts, they did get the support that they weren't expecting when we went and dealt with something there and then, including rubbish right up to the street. That was removed, and the problem was reacted to, and has been reacted to since then. So I hope people have got the confidence to come forward, because we do listen and we do react. It might not be immediate, they might not get the response unless it's something really urgent, but if it's community-based nuisance, I would urge everyone to ring 101, and it will get acted on.
Thank you. And on to the other point then, which is very near to where we went on the walkabout last month. So the burglary issue, which we have or had, because the last week things have really tailed off, with again some really good arrests which have taken place, and the patrols which have happened around there. But it's either side of the Alcester Road South. So from Warstock Road up towards the Maypole, so including Glenavon, Mounsley Road, Slaple Farm Road up towards Stockfold Road. So that area, and then across the other side, Manningford, Broad Lane, even as far up to Yarningale, Dorby Road. You know, there's quite a large area really. So an increase in the burglaries taking place. Again, you know, we put patrols in place at key times. The offender managers are doing a lot of work on certain individuals. Certain people are arrested as a result of the response to some of those burglaries. 2 individuals in particular have been dealt with for the burglary offences, and that's where then, you know, even tonight now, the one individual has been charged with one of the burglaries. He's on curfew from 9 o'clock, and my team will be going out and making sure he's in at 9 o'clock, and he's not coming out during the course of the night because the other teams follow that up during the night too. So that, and it's really dropped right off. You know, the last week there's been nothing locally around that area when it comes to any burglaries taking place. So really sort of positive with regards to that. And then on the walkabout, you know, we went up to some of those roads there, you know, including Stockfold, where some concerns about drug issues, and again, every day we've been up there and we've been doing the patrols at certain times, and lots of positive feedback, you know, for our efforts up there, and things have really dropped off. And we'll keep going back there until we resolve it completely. So those are the priorities, and that's where really the focus will remain. Whether the burglaries will stay as a sort of patrol area, but probably be reviewed very shortly, and then it may come off because actually the problem has completely stopped, just dealing with a couple of individuals. Moving then on to the crime for the area, just to sort of get an understanding of sort of the total figures. Total where we're at, so during January there was an increase in total crime with 25 more offences in Billesley compared to last year. And February, just for the first couple of days of the month, we're just showing a slight decrease. Overall, year to date, we are 27 offences up in total, which is a 2% increase year to date. So that's where we are when it comes to total crime. So that is everything that gets recorded. Theft offences, domestic violence, criminal damage, business crime, everything you can think of. When it comes to the burglaries, the increase in the burglaries for January, there was 13 in total, and that was really that spike around the Alcester Road South. Nothing at all for February, and year to date we are 1 offence up in total. So that's year to date since April. 70 offences in total for burglary dwellings, so burglary of houses since April. And you know, 13 for January, that's definitely an increase. That's an increase of 6. But overall year to date, you know, it's right on where we've been the year before, which showed big decreases in burglary offences. And then for robbery offences during January, we had 6 offences, which was a couple of offences compared to the January before, nothing for February, and 12 offences in total year to date. So 36 offences since April, to know the exact figures. So we average about 3-4 a month when it comes to robberies across the area. For vehicle crime, a slight decrease in vehicle crime, with 16 offences for January, 4 less for January. 4 offences in February so far, so 4 over the last couple of days, and 31 offences in total year to date. For business crime, so particularly, you know, the Maypole shopping area, and then all our other sort of smaller shops and businesses across the area, you know, when it comes to burglaries or thefts taking place. 13 offences for January, 5 less compared to the year before. 3 for February so far, and 23 less than the year before for business offences. And then, lastly, serious harm offences. So that would be domestic violence, general assaults, public place violence, certain crime categories when it comes to assaults. 29 offences for January. And January in particular has seen, it seems, you know, without knowing the exact figures, there's certainly been a lot of calls to us asking for our help when it comes to domestic violence incidents across the area. So 29 offences in total, 11 more than the year before, and year to date, 4 offences more than the year before, with 222 in total compared to the year before. I haven't got the exact figures for antisocial behaviour, but really it's seen a big decrease during January, which we would expect. However, you know, the mini motors for December were still causing us significant problems. So the antisocial behaviour was up compared to the year before, but January has seen a real decrease when it comes to some of the actions. And really now it's, you know, full steam ahead to put everything in place to make sure that when March, April comes and the warmer weather comes, we're not going to suddenly get a spike with the mini motors all coming out again and everyone causing antisocial behaviour, mayhem and everything else, you know, whatever you want to call it, across the Hollywood in particular. So that's where we're at. Year to date. So yeah, we've had the walkabout during the month. We've sort of had some engagement when it comes to the community officers on my team, to PCSO Lawrence and PCSO Bowen. They sort of drop into all our local sort of areas. The PCSOs who were on the area, so people like Tony Owen, who's on another team, he comes over, he drops into different areas too. And we're still about and doing our absolute best. And I think that's about it, knowing that there's lots going on operationally and things are ticking on my radar at the moment as well. All right. We've got another planned walkabout this month. I believe it's, top of my head, I think it's the 17th of February. It's a Wednesday. Is that a Wednesday?
Yeah.
I'll confirm that. I think it could be it could be the 19th of February on the Friday.
Okay.
I think I had listed down, so that'll be on the Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Just let us know.
So we'll pick certain locations. If there's any concerns where anyone wants the police, councillors, local housing department and the city council to attend, we will happily visit those locations to deal with any problems or concerns which there are.
Okay.
And then a further walkabout then for March 2. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and if you can pass on our thanks also to the other officers who are active in this area, you know, to deal with the various aspects and incidents when they arise, but also for all the prevention work that they do.
Thank you very much. I will pass that on, and I will be grateful for that. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, right.
Thank you.
On that note, I think we'll close the tasking meeting.
And we'll
The
close
committee meeting, and hopefully everyone enjoys.
Close the broadcast.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone for looking in, and thank you to everyone for coming.
Chair, can we say thank you to Kyle for keeping all the technology?
Oh, well,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
he's done a grand job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carl.
Yeah, sorry, but that was an oversight. Thank you for coming and setting the tasking and for the committee meeting too. Yes.
Thank you.
Without you, we couldn't have.
That's right.
Thank you.
You could shut it down now so we can talk more.